How you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal. Okay, so today we celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Japanese release of the Nintendo Game Boy. It wasn't the first handheld thing that Nintendo did because, for years before they were doing Game and Watch products, which were these digital clock game hybrids that came in a wristwatch variety or these little clamshell handheld game LCD games, or things like that. But the Nintendo Game Boy took that initial concept and just went full speed ahead with it. And it was a phenomenal product that still holds up, actually. Minus the spinach green screen, it still holds up wonderfully to this day. It was developed by Gunpei Yokoi and Nintendo R&D1. Now, Nintendo R&D1 was their initial really important development team. Just like Sega had, they had AM1 or AD1, or I forget the Sega studio that Yu Suzuki ran. Just like them, Nintendo's primary in-house development team is Nintendo R&D1, and has been since they opened their doors as far as their game development side in the 80s. Now the Game Boy came out, and it wasn't supposed to, I don't think it was supposed to be as popular as it was, but there was something about this product that gave you essentially a portable Nintendo Entertainment System, which was the hottest thing on the planet around 1988. And it made it portable. The 4 to 6 AA batteries, I believe it was 4 AA batteries that you put in the back of a Game Boy, lasted for hours. And it came with a pack-in title that is arguably the most popular puzzle game of all time in Tetris. And for many people, that version of Tetris is still the definitive version of Tetris. And it was a recipe for success. Sega came after Nintendo with the Game Gear. It didn't work. NEC came after Nintendo with the Turbo Express. It didn't work. Atari with the Lynx didn't work. The Gamecom didn't work. And honestly, Nintendo had to phase out the Game Boy for the Game Boy Color in order for the Game Boy to be dethroned. Nintendo essentially dethroned themselves each cycle with each successor to the Game Boy. And that's saying a lot about the power of this console. Also, the Game Boy was an incredibly tough device. There's this story, and actually it's backed up by the fact that actual Game Boy is on display at Nintendo World in New York. There was a story about a Game Boy that was in a fire, that was damaged in a fire, and it was fire damage, water damage, what have you. And the firefighters found it, and they brought it back to their station, dried it out, and just on a whim popped new batteries in it and turned it on, and it powered up. And this Game Boy still works. Some 24, 25 years later, it still works. Finding one of the original green screen Game Boys, it's not as hard as you would think, but as are most Nintendo products, finding one in working condition on eBay or in a thrift store or what have you, it can be kind of pricey. They command a pretty hefty price tag. I'm personally out really wanting one at this point. I never had one growing up, and it was one of those things that I wanted, but it wasn't one of those things that really bugged me that I didn't have. But now that I'm an adult, I feel like as an adult, I should still walk around with a Game Boy. And just, who's gonna tell me I can't? But here's to 25 years of the Nintendo Game Boy. A phenomenal device that still holds up well to this day. And while it didn't start Nintendo's run with handhelds, it definitely put them in a dominant position that they still command to this day, some 25 years later. This has been the 8-Bit Animal. I'll catch you beautiful people next time.